Hi, welcome back. We're going to start talking about networking with different kinds of people. Now, why do you need to understand different behavioral traits and personalities? Because most of us only have one type of personality or behavioral traits, or concentrate mostly on one. So, can you imagine if there's at least four behavioral traits and you've only mastered one, which is yours, you've missed out 75% of the market. You've only conquered one. So look what you're missing when you don't master these. So hopefully with this session, what I'd like you to do is just understand and let me describe to you the four basic behavioral traits. And with that, how do you sell to them? And when I mean sell to them, I understand not all of them will be your prospects, but sell means also how do you influence them? How do you influence them in your relationship with them? I'm using a profile called DIS. At the end of this video, you will also see some supplementary materials about the slides that I used and a little rundown about the description of this profile. Okay, so don't worry if you don't know the history, you can read about it later. Let's just get on to actually understanding what that is and how to use it in networking. So there's four basic profiles. People are either outgoing or reserved. Either you initiate things, that's when you're outgoing, or you wait for things to be initiated and you respond. That's typically the reserved. There's also a behavioral trait where people are mostly task-oriented or people-oriented. So task-oriented people value the completion of tasks, the achievement of tasks over relationships with people. And people-oriented people value the relationship over the achievement of tasks. And what we call the outgoing task-oriented are the Ds. D stands for dominant, decisive, driving. Yeah, these are people who typically are on leadership positions. Whether or not they have the position, they appear and stand out as a leader naturally. On the outgoing and people-oriented side, we have what we call the Is. The Is are lively, outgoing, life of the party, influential, intimate with a lot of people, and they're very interpersonal. Okay, so they're great usually in the social types of positions, public relations, sales, customer service, things like that. People who love people. On the reserved side, there are two more profiles. Number one is the reserved task-oriented, which is the Cs. C, you can say it stands for compliant, critical. Cs are perfectionists. They are the detail-oriented, analytical people. They are typically more guarded. They have high standards of themselves as well as of other people. The S's are the reserved yet people-oriented. They are stable, secure, they appreciate safety. Now, emotionally, they might be a bit flat, okay? And they won't initiate things. They need a lot of encouragement. But these S peoples are quite stable in certain positions. For instance, an administrative position, a peacemaker. These are the types of positions that you typically see an S in. Any supporting position is usually very good for an S. So let's say, I'll give you a little story. The DISC, they decide to go swimming. Okay, who do you think leads the pack? Yeah, that's right, the D. Let's go swimming, guys. Then the I follows behind, says, "Yay, this is gonna be great." Sends messages to everyone that I'm going swimming, and this is so exciting. And they, of course, forget the suntan lotion. They forget the half of their bathing suit. They forget the towel, and they're gonna borrow everything from everyone anyway because they have a lot of friends. But they're super excited. Then comes the S. The S says, "Well, if you guys are going swimming, okay, I'll go ahead." "Oh, all right, no big deal. I'll go with you." Okay. No big deal. They'll just follow along. The C's want to go swimming, love the sport and love the exercise. So he spends like an hour and a half just packing for just one day swimming. they have to have the suntan lotion, and you got to make sure there's enough suntan lotion there for the entire day. And just in case anybody needs it, there's some extras, and it's got to be positioned on the right side of the bag. And then, of course, there's a towel. Maybe you need 2 towels because then there's a drying towel, and then afterwards you need the shower towel. Blah, 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 blah. An hour and a half later, his little suitcase is packed. So off they go. Off they go, and they start going swimming. D gets into the pool, swims 15 laps, out of the pool, takes a shower, and goes home. D is very task-oriented. You see, I am going swimming, so therefore he goes swimming, and that's it. The I, the people-oriented one, changes into her bathing suit or his bathing suit, and then starts socializing with everyone in the swimming pool. They go directly to the corner where there's lots of people, start introducing themselves to their people, gets everybody's emails and hand phone numbers just in case they want to stay in touch. Of course, everybody's Facebook page is of course, on the priority list, to the point that they forgot to swim. They forgot the task, okay? And they're feeling a little ill because, all the wind and everything like that, and they didn't cover themselves up properly because they were chatting away, okay? Then comes the S. The S goes into the swimming pool area, takes out a book, orders a pina colada, and sits there, reads, relax. Actually, they're not bothered whether or not they swim now or an hour later. In the meantime, the D is going back for 15 laps, or maybe they're at their 12th lap, and they look up and say, hey, S, come on, aren't you going to swim or something? You've been sitting there reading that book. The S replies back to the D slowly, gently. He says, well, don't worry, man. The water's going to still be there in about 3 hours, so what's the rush? Okay, so that's the S. The C wants to get in directly to the pool. However, being a C, you've got to be very careful. Let's analyze the whole situation, make sure that it is safe, and make sure that it is the right thing to do to swim in the pool. He asks immediately, well, what is the depth of the swimming pool? And the lifeguard says, well, I think it's about 1.7 meters. Let me just check that out. Out from his suitcase comes a ruler, a measuring stick, where he plunges into the water and he says, well, actually it's about 1.68. You're a bit off there, but it's all right, it's okay. I'm going to save your face. Then he says, well, what's the temperature of the water, if I may? Lifeguard's getting a little nervous and he says, well, I think it's about maybe 28 degrees. Out comes the thermometer from the other end of the suitcase, and he plunges it into the water just to measure, just to make sure it's actually 28 degrees. It came off to about 26.7, That's all right, the lifeguard wasn't a C, obviously, wasn't really detail-oriented, but, so it takes a long time for the C to actually jump into the pool because he's measuring depth, he's measuring temperature, pH, chlorine, and all these kinds of things to make sure that jumping into the pool is an okay decision and it's a good one for his health. So that's, an exaggerated story about this, but you get the point. And maybe from there, you start seeing yourself in that situation. Of course, when I'm talking about here's what a D is like, what an I is like, what an S is like, I'm always talking about extremes. Most of us do not fall into that great extreme. Most of us have a bit of a D, a bit of an I, a bit of an S, or a bit of a C. Some of us are pretty well combined. Some of us are pretty extreme, but hardly to the extreme that I was mentioning. Okay, so that's just a story to illustrate. Now, having known those kinds of personalities, how do you network with them? Okay, and again, there are some supplementary materials I'd like you to look at, such as the characteristics of a D, characteristics of an I, S, and C. I show them briefly here, but you will have access to them when you download the supplementary material. So don't worry about taking copious notes on this one. But I want to talk to you a little bit about influencing them, selling to them. Obviously, there are different ways. For Ds, for instance, they like to be in control. They like to be commanding the situation. So when you're selling to a D, you need to appreciate that they want to be in charge. A D typically wants explanations in bullet points. An I is slightly different. They want to be your friend first and they like stories and they go around and around and around before getting to the point. But if you do that with a D, they won't appreciate it. A D will be very direct with you whether or not they're buying or not. However, the key is don't let them get away without telling you their objections. It's very rare that the D won't tell you anyway, but let them get it all out. Because if you can overcome them, if you can get them to see otherwise, you've got a pretty strong chance of selling. Now, let's go to an I here. An I, again, is a very friendly, amiable person. What's important for an I is that you appreciate their dreams, their vision, where do they want to get, what do they want to achieve by buying your product. But also it's very important for them to see you as first a friend. If you don't strike personal relationship with an I, you're just no fun, okay? They might not even bother going to the next step. So you might want to start with being their friend first, okay? And then asking a lot about them and letting them have their say. But you'll see that when you are selling to them, they are taking decisions sometimes very emotionally. So they might be very quick to say yes or no. I'm a strong I, I know when I make buying decisions, it's pretty fast too. I regret them very fast too, but I make them very fast, okay? So S's, on the other hand, appreciate security and a slower conversation. Give them time. Never corner an S and ask them to make a decision right away. Even if they may make a decision right away, they may have a lot of buyer's remorse afterwards because you forced them and they might want their money back, okay? So with the S's, give them time to think. And the other thing with S's is they want something that is safe and secure. So if you can provide any kind of guarantee, trial for 30 days or something like that, that assures them that they can try first. If they don't like it, they can bring it back or you can refund the money or you can try before you buy. It's going to be a lot easier for them to make a decision. Another thing is perhaps if you can't have that policy in your organization, is perhaps assuring them once they make a decision, you are by their side. Okay, here's my personal handphone number, and if you have any questions at all, any reason why you're not satisfied, whatever, just give me a call. Okay, I am there for you. Okay, the C's get detailed. Here's the contrast. The D's don't want a lot of detail. The I's don't want a lot of detail, but the C's, they want the detail. So when you're trying to influence someone, make sure you have details backed up. Don't go in there pretending like you know, because they will research what you said. And if they research what you said and you've been fouling up and making things up, you lose respect real quick. Okay, so with C's, also give them time to process, back your details up, give them time to make a decision, but also kind of encourage them to make a decision, because the thing with C is they can go into analysis paralysis, okay? And when that happens, typically nothing gets done, no decision gets made. Okay, so those are the DISC type. But again, there are supplementary materials that you can read up on. And I really hope that you take this session seriously. And I want you to think about your top networks right now. And I want you to kind of put them in this quadrant. Are they D's, I's, S's, or C's? In your opinion, as far as you know from what you've learned from this session. It will help you later to relate to them. Then I want you to read the supplementary materials and kind of learn how can you improve your relationship and your approach to each of your key networks. So first of all, list down your key networks, maybe, 5, 10 people. Then put them up in those quadrants. And then read the supplementary material just to understand how can you improve on relating to those people. If you are selling to those people, how can you improve in selling to those people? Okay, so I'll see you in the next video. And I hope you really take this exercise seriously, because I know it's helped a lot of people in business and it's helped a lot of people in their teams and relationships. Okay, so I'll see you in the next video.